Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Maryland Apex Accelerator webinar. I'm your host, Yasmin Razak. I'm the Marketing and Training Coordinator here. And today's topic is how to complete and utilize the Dynamic Small Business Search, also known as DSBS. And it is going to be taught by Akeisha Foster, who is a former Apex Accelerator counselor and is now CEO of Key to Life Professional Services, LLC. We will get started very shortly, and there will be opportunities for you to ask Akeisha your questions by typing them in the chat box on your screen. We will pause for a break, 5-minute break at the top of the hour, and then we will do Q&A throughout the presentation. As always, a copy of the slides and a copy of the recording will be sent to you later today. For those of you who are not familiar with the Maryland Apex Accelerator, it's our mission to help Maryland businesses compete in federal, state, and local government procurement processes. Our services are no cost to you. We just ask that you have an established business that is in good standing in the state of Maryland. So if you think you need assistance, please complete our client application form on our website, marylandapex.org. And it's about 30 business days right now, a lot of demand, but we will get to you. So thanks for your patience. Okay, enough from me. Good morning, Akeisha. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Yasmin, and good morning to everyone. And thank you again for joining us in another one of our trainings on how to complete and utilize your dynamic small business search, also known as the DSBS. Okay, I'm your instructor. Yasmin, I already gave you a little bit about me. Just been in the government contracting field for over 22 years. So we're giving you everything that we've learned by being in the field. I'm a GovCon coach with RSM Federal, and then I'm a proposal support consultant for Jade Solutions. And previous former contracting officer specialist, so I know, and then a former Apex Accelerator counselor, so I truly know, and I've helped my clients to win over 8 million. So now it's about 10 million now, and we're just dealing with state, local, federal, and then recently retired from the military. So I'm able to give you all 100% of my time now, and that's been such a blessing, able to serve. Okay, now, and also please don't feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, because I'm always updating information, sharing things, blog posts and content for you. So always feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, so now let's go over today's agenda. Okay, many of you small business are missing out on the valuable federal contracting opportunities simply because your DSBS profile is incomplete and inaccurate. And this is what we're facing when some of our clients come into these sessions. Previously, when they were coming into the sessions, they wouldn't even have a DSBS profile. Now, the dynamic small business search, as we also said, the DSBS is a go-to resource. This is where the prime contractors looking for you, your government buyers, agency, small business specialists, the OSDBUs and different things. This is the go-to where they're looking for all the vendors. And this is a free marketing tool for you. So you definitely have to utilize this. Okay. So, and the goal of this training today is to help you with that. My goal is to make sure you have that. Okay. And how we're going to do that is what is a DSBS profile? So I'm going to talk about that. What is your business development goals? Okay, because many of you don't have it because you're new to the government market space, and that's why we're putting on these trainings. Every time you give us feedback, we're developing training to answer those questions. All that feedback that you're giving us every time you show up for this training, we take it and then we add that into our training plan to make sure that your small businesses are ready and compliant with the federal government and state and local. So never forget that. And then how government buyers search for your firms. How are they actually searching for your firms? We're going to go over that. We're going to discuss each section of the DSBS profile because many people don't understand the importance. I go on DSBS and you'll see a lot of NAs or blank sales, and this is our marketing material to those government agencies. So we want to make sure that we're covering everything. And so when I say then you got to understand how DSBS pulls and displays the data. And then just a few mistakes to avoid, so that you're visible. And then of course Q&A. So how I'll just stop throughout the training. So if you have questions, then you can answer, just put them in the chat and we'll get to them. Because what we do is at the end of the session, we use those questions to expand on the training. Then when we have this training again, then we can possibly have the frequently asked questions. Okay, these are the questions we got from the training. And then the training is living. It's constantly adding things that's going to help you grow your business, because that's the goal, right? Is to win government contracts via prime, sub, teaming. It doesn't matter. The goal is to win contracts. Okay. And so how I'm going to do that is we're going to teach you how to complete and optimize each section of your DSBS profile. Okay. The difference between the data that SAM, okay, the system of award management, you have to be registered in order for that information to come through. So we want to make sure you have that. And then which blocks are editable, where you're, as the small business owner, are going to go in there and update that information. Then I want to teach you how to align your profile with your business development goals. And so what do I mean by that when I say your business development goals? Okay. They align with your DSBS profile with your business development goals, because they're going to clearly reflect the types of contracts that you're the customers or your clients, the teaming relationships that you are actively pursuing. This is our strategic marketing tool, the DSBS profile. And it's free. So why not use it? All you have to do is invest that time to go in and update it. Then where the buyers are looking, because we're talking about that, how to increase your visibility, because you want to be able to come up in those searches. Okay. Then we're going to talk about tips for showcasing your past performance. And basically in DSBS, it's your references, but also it's going to be that capability statement that's linked in there. And we'll talk about that more as we go on. So no worries, we're going to talk about that. And then the importance of the accuracy of your NAICS codes, your keywords, and your capability narratives. Too many times we slip on that. That's time, that's prime real estate for you to market your business. And know that you're not wasting that time and that effort. And then we'll cover each section. That's going to be the identification data, the web presence. That's your that way we maximize your online visibility. The organization, ownership, and certification section, the products and services section, including those keywords and capabilities, and then your references. So that way you can boost your credibility with your strategic partners, because they want to know that you have some kind of experience. Okay. And when you first getting started, it's important. This is all the more important that you document it. I don't care if it's employee, I don't care if it's subcontract, commercial, everything. You document it so that way you can start somewhere, because that's where we all started, in the private sector, and then transition and pivot into the federal, because we use that commercial and subcontracting experience. Now, this webinar, in this session, we're going to use this one as a group counseling session, right? I'm going to walk you through how you're completing your profile and how you can improve it or expand on your market research capabilities, and to ensure your business profile effectively connects with the government buyers, the team and partners via either prime or sub. And then I have added several realistic examples by industry Okay, because it's different for each industry. And then how about you got a scenario when you had signed an NDA, the non-disclosure, right? And how do I document my past performance or relevant experience when I've signed an NDA? There's do's and don'ts to that. So you want to be careful with that because you want to read that non-disclosure and see what you can disclose and what you cannot. And we're going to go over that as well. All right. And then along with your employee examples for those who do not have experience or just started their business, because these trainings are meant for our new small businesses, the government contracting, who can't afford to go out there and hire those people. So they're mainly wearing the hats, right? They're wearing all the hats and doing all of the work. So they have to get this training to get that business acumen, and then also how to learn, and then also navigating the government contracting, learning the basic fundamentals, because when you have the basic fundamentals then you can add to it. But until you have those basic fundamentals, you're just spinning your wheels, because you don't know what you don't know. That's just the way it is. Okay. Then we're going to do those examples. For those employee examples are for basically those personnel positions. Okay. And like I always say to you all, I always put the notes when you get the handouts. Look in the notes section. I put notes in the notes section. I put links in the notes sections, so that way when we're going over this information, and maybe you didn't catch a link that I said, or maybe you didn't catch something like that, right? It's in the notes section. And then also we'll also put it in the chat feature too, so that way you have those notes in there as well, because we want to make sure you're getting the resources that you need to be successful. Now, we want to be sure that the information that you update in your DSBS profile is always current. All right. So I always recommend review it annually, like when you're doing your certifications, right? When you're renewing your SAM profile. So when you renew your SAM profile, you go in there, make sure everything, don't just go through the motion. Actually make sure, did I win a new contract? Did I win a new opportunity? Do I need to add a new reference? That's why put it on that calendar. Set it for, okay, my profile is about to expire. Let me go ahead and pull out my PDF file of my documents where all I've been writing all my updates, and then you go in there and do your updates, because you didn't had your PDF of last year's profile. And then as you go through each month, just update what's changing, scratch out what needs to be removed, add new stuff. So when it's time to, you got that PDF in your government sales binder that you keep. Always have clients have their government sales binder and have your different sections where your SAM profile goes behind a tab, your Emma profile, that's the Maryland marketplace, goes behind, and then those capability statements. And then you're writing on those documents, or if you have it in PDF file, you put those comments, go in there and comment in the comment section to which sections need to be updated. So you got your virtual updates and you have your paper copy when you're not in front of your computer, if you're out about and running and you need to make some updates. They're always documented, because with so many things going on nowadays, you'll forget. And you don't want to forget your results that you've given these clients, who you gave the results to, because we're quantified. We have to quantify everything in the government sector. They want to know how many, the who, what, where, why, and for who. That's how it goes in the government sector. And then what I want you to do is also use this search to compare the information with similar businesses. All right, because that's what the government person gonna do. The government buyer, they're gonna compare you to your teaming partners. They're gonna compare you to your, what they say, competimes, or whatever they call it. When you, one minute you're teaming partners, next minute you what was it, competing against each other. So the frenemies, they got all these different names for it. So you need to do that as well. Go see who's also providing that service, if it's consulting or whatever not. Okay. And then the last thing, we want to learn the various search parameters. How is the government looking for you? What are the different search parameters? Because there are different search parameters that the contracting or the program manager or the government buyer can use to look you up. And then making sure you create a search for profile that is going to attract those buyers. Okay. So what the DSBS profile is. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide because I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about today. But before we move to the next slide, I want to talk about where are you in the DSBS profile process. So go ahead and put that in there. I've never logged in. I've logged in but haven't updated it. I'm partially completed my profile, or my DS profile is complete. You basically just here for the tips, making sure you did everything correctly, or anything of that nature. And I didn't even know I had one, because some people don't even know about the DSBS profile and what agencies are using. And while we're waiting for that poll, I'm just going to talk about this last thing. The DSBS profile is an essential tool for small business interested in finding prime contractors, subcontractors who do business with the federal government. So that's what it is. DSBS is a public system run by the Small Business Administration, okay? And they collect and display company profiles registered in the System Award. That's the System for Award Management for the government marketplace. Okay, so that's why I wanted to make sure you understand that. Okay, I believe everybody is finished now. So we have what 24% of you have never logged in before. So this training is going to be valuable to you. And then I've logged in, but I haven't updated. About 7% of you, and then I partially completed my profile, and that's about 27% of you. And then we have 24% of you who have completed. But we got a lot of good stuff for you today for those who completed, because I'm hoping you're going to get some good training out of this, because I got some real good stuff for you. And I didn't even know I had one, and that was 17%. So I'm going to just keep moving on. And thank you all for filling out the poll question, because this helps me. This helps me with making the training. Okay, so next slide. Okay, what is the DS profile? I basically gave you just some bullet points. It's your marketing tool for your small business. Okay, it's the marketing tool. It's a snapshot of your firm that the government buyers use. Primes use, subcontractors use to look for primes. The primes looking for sub and teaming partners. Say you looking for another veteran-owned business because you're a veteran-owned and you need to find another veteran-owned business. So this is key. It should reflect your capability statement. It is required for companies applying for SBA certifications. So this is a key part of the government contract. This is one of your foundations. This is one of your fundamentals that you need to make sure you understand, and that you've done everything you need to possibly do to keep it visible. Okay, so so that your certifications, and the certifications are like your the and then AA, they automatically go in there and start updating things. It pulls in automatically. Okay, so when you're aligning your business development goals, so let me go to the next slide because we want to talk about those business development goals, because we're going to be here for just a little bit. Okay, so what that means, okay? So now we're going to talk about the most important thing I want you to walk away today with, is how to align that DSBS with your business development goals, okay? So a lot of people use the DSBS profile like a checklist. No, it's more than that. It's more than that. There's elements in there that you need to understand, and that should be aligning. So for one, okay, you don't just go through it. Like I always say, you print out that PDF. Okay. Now that you didn't print out that PDF, and then you're going to write in each section that is not filled out or highlighted or make it in red. So when you go in there, or if you don't have one, okay, let's talk about those ones who don't have one, because I got the training slide. I got the link up for you. For those who don't have one, right, the first thing you need to do is register. The SB, we're going to be putting the link in the chat for you. Plus, we're going to give out the handout so you will get this information. So, because I had a few of you who do not even have one. So this is the first thing you have to do, is register. Okay. And we gave you plenty of information. It's going to give you all the work through the purpose of it, how to request your SBA Connect user ID, how to create that account. You just go in and you hit create an account. For those of you who have not got your DSBS profile, so you won't be able to log in and do the updates in real time as we're doing the training, but at least you have the information, right? So you can go back and get this done and then go back and watch the video. Pull the video. So make sure you bookmark this video, because this is for people who have completed their training. I mean, who already got their access, because we're teaching you how to optimize it and do all that. And sometimes, because it depends on the load, is will they do it in 24 hours or 48 hours? How long is it going to take them to give you your access? And it depends. I really don't know, because I don't work at that agency, but it depends on how long it takes. And then you just bookmark it and come back and watch it. So then once you have created your account, you see it's going to take you, because you have to have a SAM profile. You see, you're going through each step. You got to have that business email or just a regular email, because they said just email address, right? Which language do you prefer? English, Spanish, whatever that is, and then set up those codes. So if you already have your SAM profile, then all you're doing is basically connecting it. Then once you connect it, they're going to ask you for this information. You're going to need this information. You're going to need your profile information, your address, phone number, basic information. And then once that you have gotten that information, then you're just going to go through each step to request that access. And that's the reason why we go through this training with you. So that way you don't have to just figure it out. You already got the information. You already know what you need. You have to have at least one NAICS code. So you have to be active to even do any of those things. To add your business, you have to have these few things. You must be active. You have to have at least one NAICS code, a small NAICS code. These are for the small business, and be fully registered in SAM. If those things have not happened yet, you cannot proceed. But yes, stay in the training, because this training is valuable, because soon as you do have the access, and I recommend you do it while we're on the training. Just go ahead and do all this registration now, because this is a interactive session. So that way you can get everything done. So by the time you finish this training, you have the profile already submitted and waiting for them to approve it. And then once it's approved, you can just hit the ground running. Okay. So then next thing, then once you have that, then this is where we're taking off at right now. This is after you got the access, you've clicked the plus sign to add this as your DSBS profile. Then I'm going to keep going, because I want to make sure you see where we at. Then once you get all of this done, then you're going to see that UEI pop up. Once you see that UEI pop up, and then I have that also in the PowerPoint slideshow. So you'll see the PowerPoint slideshow that we're on now. I'll also mention it again, because I have to do repetition, because many times people come to the class late, or they had another meeting and then they able to join, or they had to leave to go. So I always mention things a couple of times, so that way they can get it throughout the video. Okay, and then they also have a link for a video. So like I said, we will be adding this in here for you. And then once you get to here, this is the page where we're going to be talking about and where we're going to spend the most of the energy. And because it's so small, the reason why I broke each slide out, because of it's so small when you're on the screen. But that's why I want you to pull it up and go through it with me, so that way you can see each tab that I will be discussing is the supplemental pages. These are what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. We're updating today. And that way, when you get off this training, you have left this counseling session with a very good DSBS profile. And now you're ready to move on to the next phase of your foundational training. Okay. And then when we go through here, we're going to go through the NAICS codes. We're just talking about the mandatory fields, and they show you a screenshot of everything. So that way you feel confident in doing this. And you can do this before you even get in your counseling session. And then you can let your counselor know wherever you get stuck, that this is where I got stuck. What should I had put in here? But my goal is to make sure you don't have to do that. And that's why I really try to define this training so you can see exactly what everything is. So the links will be in the chat and on the slides in the notes section. I put these the link in the slides on the notes section. Plus we will be handed out in a handout. And if you have other questions, you can see this is related to, you just go to click on one of these tabs, how to add the capability statement link. They have a tab for that too, because they've changed it. Now you can put that capability statement link in there. So read this information. It is very valuable and it will show you exactly how to do it. And they have the screenshots just like I showed you in the earlier in this session. So this is what it looks like, and this is what you have to do for those who are not registered or knew they didn't even know they had to have them. Okay, so let me go back to the PowerPoint and continue to talk about it. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the DSBS profile. Okay, it's one of the things the government buyers and prime contractors see when they're trying to decide whether you are going to be a potential team and partner, right? So when I say align your business goal, I mean that your profile should reflect the exact contracts. So for example, your goal this year is to support government agencies with financial consulting. You should then make sure your NAICS codes reflect that niche. So that means I'm going to be using 541611. That's the Administrative Management and General Management Consulting Services, right? Now, only include NAICS codes you actually want to pursue contracts under. Do not list everything because we can't do everything. And then most times when they see all those NAICS codes listed and you are a small business, they feel like you haven't figured out your niche. You haven't figured out what it is that you are good at or what services. You're still trying to figure it out. So that's not a good indicator for that. Or say you're doing the financial consulting, right? Then you're going to use the 541219. That's other accounting services. So all you have to do is when you're looking for your NAICS codes, always go to the SBA.gov and look for your NAICS codes, because for those who haven't got their NAICS code, because I noticed it was a lot of small businesses who still haven't in that in the poll who hasn't even done this part yet. So that means they're not registered in SAM. They haven't went through that whole process for that. And I believe we do have a training video on how to register in SAM too. I'm not sure, but I think we do. And then your capability narratives talks about the things like, so in the capability narrative, right, we're going to say audit readiness. So that's one of the things we do. Internal controls, because we are a financial consulting company. We're using keywords. Now, these keywords come from our solicitations, our RFIs that we're being pursuing, the sources sought notices, agency forecast, solicitations. You have to use the language that the agency is using. So if you're going after Department of Commerce, you're going to use all the Department of Commerce language that they have in the RFIs, the sources sought notices, the procurement forecasts, the solicitation. So, but say you're going after Department of Veteran Affairs, that's going to be different. Each agency, Department of Homeland Securities, HHS, I'm telling you, each agency has different language they put in their RFIs. By me having worked at these different agencies, and then you wonder why small businesses are struggling to figure it out, because each agency has a different vernacular. They use different words for the same thing. So for federal, we say contract specialist, but for state, they normally say procurement analyst or a procurement what was it, professional, or analyst or something like that, because they use different things. So that's why it's important to know your agency. You getting to know those agencies and what they use. Don't use vague language like just general consulting. Okay, what does that mean? What kind of general consulting do you do? You already said it was broad when you used the NAICS code 541611, but now we need to narrow down in what part of the general consulting do we do? We do financial consulting, or we do market research consulting, or we do audit consult, whatever your consulting firm is. You got to make sure you kind of bring it in. Now your keywords should match the buyers you're searching for. Things like, so because we chose for this example financial consulting. So then we're gonna say stuff like grant management, OMB compliance, financial reporting. You see, that's what I mean when I say keyword search. You're using the words that the contracting officers, the prime contractors are searching for. If that's the service, that's what you have to use. And too many times we're using words that we made up or came up with, and no one's searching for that. You need to use what your customer is searching for. Now, your web presence. Also, your web presence tells the story, the same story that your DSBS profile. I always tell them make sure you have your LinkedIn page, because nowadays they're looking at the LinkedIn pages. Everything needs the website, everything needs to say the same thing. So if I'm a financial consultant, I'm going to have everything lined up for financial consulting, because they're going to know I'm the SME at this. I am the subject matter expert in financial consulting. So I'm doing acquisition. So when you're a subcontractor, then you want to make sure yours is focused on subcontracting, how I supported my prime and which agency I ported my prime for. And we'll discuss that more as we move along. Everything should be connected. Everything, your keywords, your certifications, the services, the references, even the capability statement you upload or send later should all speak the same thing. Everything. So that's why I say we have to make sure everything aligns. And I was so happy that we heard so many small business talking about they really needed help with the DSBS profile. So I really wanted to home in on some of the areas and things that I've seen that was messing up a lot of small businesses being visible in the government marketplace. And so, like I said, that is what's going to help you to make sure you're being visible. Okay, so let's move on. Let me stop real quick before we get to this slide. Does anyone have any questions? Did I miss any questions or anything before I move on? Because I definitely want to give you time to ask those questions.
Thanks, Akeisha.
Mhm.
Yeah, people are just basically asking questions about the links you were talking about. So I've posted some links in the chat,
Good.
and
Mhm.
also to reiterate that all the links will be with the slides that we send out to you today. So yeah, I mean, people are asking questions I think you're going to address later on in the
Mhm.
presentation. After registering with sam.gov, what's next? A couple of people have asked that. How to upload my capability statement into the SAM profile. I know you're going to cover that that's part of the DSBS. So I think, if we just sit and be a bit patient, you're going to address some of these as we go along.
Okay. Yeah, because that's why we put because basically, especially for those ones, because it was a lot who still didn't register. So that's why I said you can't even go any further with a live presentation because you don't even have an account. So that's where they're going to stop. But they continue the training because once their registration comes through, then boom, that's all they got to do. Okay, so now next for the how government buyers search for your firms. Okay, so buyers use the DSB. So this is what they're going to do. So what I wanted to do is make sure you see and understand what I mean when I say how the government buyers. So the next tab that we're going to be discussing on is this. Okay, so this is the SBA's. You can either do the DSBS search. That's the first one, or you're going to do the connect. That's where you're going to register. That's why I made sure you have this. This is how you register, and this is where you get all the information to register for. So that's why, because we only have a limited time in this training. So I wanted to make sure you have all the guides and everything you need so that way you can go through it, because it's only a little time, and I want to make sure we cover everything today. Okay, so when I click on the first link right here, that's going to be the SBA DSBS search. This is what I mean when I said the government buyers are looking. This is what they're using. The prime contractors are using, subcontractors, mentor proteges, you name it. This is the one. This is the profile that they're using to search. They have the help desk right here, and They put their notifications right here. So some notifications, interested in doing business with the federal government as a disaster response contractor. They're telling you where to go. If you're interested in assisting the FEMA response disaster, then they're telling you where to go. So always be aware of this page, bookmark it. I always tell you to bookmark these pages in your tab, so that way you always come back to it. Now, this is how they're looking. So, say they want a Maryland business, right? They're going to go to Maryland, right? If they want a Maryland business, or if you out of the state. So, if they need somebody to stay, or if they're in Texas, everyone is using this site. And then it's only so much information you can pull at a time on this website. So that's why, and then it's kind of slow because everybody's on it. So that's why I had to do a little bit of a presentation walkthrough and show you the basic overview of everything on here, and then you have to go back and do your own research because this stuff takes time. Sometimes it be scrolling for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, so that's why it's important that you do this, continue the training when you leave. So we said Maryland, right? Then it's going to pull all the Maryland business. Or say you only want to go in the zip code, because I've had clients only want to work in the 30-mile radius. Well, then you put your zip code in there. So if your zip code was 21144, then you put your zip code in, and then it's only going to pull the 21144. So I put that one as an example, just to give you a basis of what I mean. And then we're going to touch each and every one so you can see, because some of them take longer than others, and some of them, well, just it works better. So you see, this is what they're pulling up. You can see some people did not fill in their capability narrative. They're going to show your emails, your address, your contact information, and your firm. But to dive deeper and to learn more about these agencies, which we're going to discuss, you just click the first one, right? We click it. And then you see how they're telling you. So this person didn't put their capability link in here. This person, and it's telling you, okay, yes, this person accepts government credit cards. Then you see they have the fields where you can check to see if this person has a GSA schedule. This is how the agencies are looking. They're looking at here, they're doing those keyword searches, and that's how they're finding you. They're okay, they only need it. They're telling you what, or your organization and ownership certification. These are the sections that we'll be discussing later on in training: the identification, location, and the contacts. I mean, this is what we're going through, discussing each. Are you a 8A? Are you a hub zone? Are you a joint venture? Are you a woman-owned? Are you an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business? Are you a veteran-owned? Are you a service disabled veteran? I mean, it's all here. How about they're searching for you, your other certifications? Maybe they're looking for somebody who's state of Maryland certification with the SBR program, the Small Business Reserve program, or maybe they're looking for someone in the MBE, the Minority Business Enterprise program. Or maybe they're looking for the products and services. So maybe they're looking for the narratives, or installing toes, all that. It's special equipment, materials, and we're going to talk about each and every one of these along with the training. And then they make sure you put your primary. Now, this person only focusing on one thing. They said we're only going to focus on primary NAICS code. They didn't even put in a secondary NAICS code. They said, well, no, we just focusing on one thing at a time. But the thing is, whatever you put in here, that's what you got to be able to focus on, because when they call you, you want to be ready. And then this individual also did their references. They talked about their business type. They do construction, manufacturing, and service. So they put the percentages in there. And when you get access, these are the things you need to go in there and update and put in. So say I do R&D, then you're going to put a percentage for some, if R&D is one of those selections. And then if you have construction bond, you need to put that on here. Because say they only working with people who have construction bonding levels, then you need to have something in there, because when you go see how different ways they can come in here and search, you want to be sure that that you pull up in each search. And then of course they put their past performance. But I always recommend that when you put your past performance, you tell available upon request, and then they reach out to you, because you want to know who's reaching out to your references. You want to know who's going in there calling the people that you're putting on your references. And we'll talk about that more. But I just wanted to give you a basic overview of what your government buyers are seeing. This is what they're seeing when they say, oh, I went and look at your profile and I see that you don't even have the NAICS code that we had put on the solicitation. Because although you have to have it once you're responding to, you have to have that NAICS code that you're going after on your solicitation. That's important that you have that. Okay, so let's go back to the profile list. And see, sometimes it takes time. So that's why I like to have the links already up and running, because you see how sometimes it could do that, take turns. So let's just go back this way, and then let me take you back. Okay. Then talk about the government certifications. All right. So how about you don't want to just look at the zip code, but you need a woman-owned small business with active certifications. Then you have to go in and click that box, right? Everything you have to do, if you only want woman-owned small business that you're looking for a team and partner with, or say you're looking for, that's what you have to go in there and collect. And then it's going to populate all of that information as well. So it's going to give you that same information, but for the area code that you put, or we don't want an area code, we only want the state of Maryland. We need a woman-owned small business that's in the state of Maryland. So this is how the government buyer is going in there looking. They're doing a keyword search. They're doing a state search. Those are the different things. So when I was telling you, let's pull the slide back up so we can, the buyers uses these, the keywords capability, the NAICS code, the certifications, the locations, the performance history. So AKA references, and then your website. And so I always telling you to optimize, think like your buyer. Okay, make it easy for them to find you. So that's why I'm saying think like your buyer. Okay, how are they going to look for me? And you'll know, you'll get used to how to look up things when you go through it. And then this is because they're really doing away with the self certifications. I haven't really seen it. Everything is requiring you to have a certification now. So you can use that, but these ones take time. When you put like NAICS codes, because they're pulling in all of those NAICS codes. When you say keywords, they're pulling up all of those keywords. So if you're looking up program management, or say you're looking up SharePoint or Airtable, you know, it's going to take a while. So that's why I said, when in these sessions, because of our limited time, I can't search everything in here, but I can show you where to go to search when you're looking for the services for similar companies to sell what you sell, to see how you compare to your other people in that agency. Okay. Now, the nature of the business, okay? Is it do they need manufacturing? Do they need construction, research and development and services? So you just click it, or whatever you need. It say they need this contract got to have a minimal of 100,000 bond. Then they're gonna do is whatever they're looking for in that requirement. So say the person has to have the ISO 9000, then they're gonna click that and then do another search, and then all those people are going to populate. Or if they need a size, they're going to go in here and say no more than, and then so that's why it's important that you're updating this stuff, like they said, annual gross revenue, employees. It's important that you know that this is how they're looking at you. That's why it's important that you put the information in SAM, your SAM profile, which is going to populate, because some of this stuff that goes in the DSBS profile is populated by SAM, but then other of the things are populated by you as the small business owner is editable. You have to go in there and put that information in there. You have to go in there and say that, yes, put me on the public search, because I've had some clients be saying, no, I don't want to be on the public search. That means you're private, so nobody can't find you. So you have to go in there, check that button saying that, yes, I would like to be publicly visible. So it's those different things that small business don't understand. They wonder why no one is ever fighting them, because because you told them that you did not want to be found. You said, no, I do not want to be on the public search. And that's why it was important that we give you this training so you know how to find these things. So say you have you're an exporter, you can pull that from here. Do you accept government purchase cards? So many small businesses, I go in there and look at the link and it says no, they do not accept government purchase cards. Make sure you hit the yes, I do accept purchase cards, because how about they have an opportunity, but they want to use their GPC, the government purchase card. So you want to definitely make sure that is available. Then searching for a specific profile. So say you have a cage code or a NAICS code, or a UEI, or if it's a case number you're looking for, because that's mostly the government, they're using that a case number. But and then, or say you only have the company's name, and then you put the company name in there, and then you search and pull up their information. So you can look at a specific profile, or somebody reached out to you, say, hey, I want to be a team and partner. Well, you want to go look them up and see if they're registered in SAM. And this is the way you do it. You just put their UEI in there, or if you don't have their UEI, you just put their company name and see if they're registered in SAM, to see if they complement your service, or is this someone you want to work with. And then after you've done all of that, then you're going to go to uh, how you want to see it. You want to do a mail merge? Do you want it in small, teeny, whatever format you want it saved in? It's right here. And then once you do that, you just hit search using the criteria. So it's so many things that you can use to be that the government buyer is going to use to look up to find you. So search and look for your business. See how you look, and then see how many people pop up for your NAICS code or for your industry. Search by certification, because you just want to know how you're appearing in searches. Are you the fifth person, sixth person? Do you even appear on the page? Because some of those certifications, as you see, when you go, let me see if it'll let me go back. No, it's not. I'm just going to click on another one because I want you to see how you're appearing. So let's just click. Let's see, which one did I click? Because I want to limit the search, because we don't want it to take up, because it takes long if you don't limit that search. And I'm just going to do woman owned so you can see what I mean. Hold on, let me go down. And I don't want to do a NAICS code that's going to take long, because it'll take longer. And I want to be able to show you. Okay, so let's hit search again. Okay, so you see how it was only 11 profile matches for this zip code, but that's only if they use the zip code. Now, say they put the state of Maryland, that's going to be a little bit different, right? If they say the state of Maryland, because I want you to see the differences. So let me just click this again. And they say the state of Maryland. So you can see the difference, what I mean, when you want to see how they're searching. So we're going to say the state of Maryland for women-owned small business. Now, it was 11 when I just did the zip code, but now I'm searching the entire state. Now, this is the buyer. So now you have to compete 1,162 profiles matching that. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I say you're looking to see different ways the contracting person will be looking to see, and then how many people are you competing with. Okay, so if they use that search, then I don't know if they're going to see me unless I've marketed to this agency and they know me. But you see how many, that was completely different. Only 11 profiles when I used the zip code, and I did woman-owned small businesses. So this is how they're going to do it. This is how I did it when I was in. I look up through the profile. Now, if they didn't have anything in here, I didn't even waste my time. I'm not going to even lie. If I got to figure out who you are, I'm not even looking at it. If there was no capability there, just so I could see what you've done, I didn't even try, because I already seen that they don't care about their profile, or they didn't know about it, or whatever. And sometimes you just don't know. So that's why it's important to understand how they're looking. But because of time, I have to move on, because we still have a lot of slides to go through. Okay. And then as soon as we're about to take the break, I'll stop for a minute and take some more questions. So like I told you before, I put the link in there and I put it on the top this time for how to connect with the SBA Connect, because you have to be registered. And then once you get in here, then you're able to log in. Then click on the UEI, because this training is for those who have a UEI, but we also want to take in consideration some people didn't even know about the service, and that's why I do the walkthrough, and that's why we provide the handout so you can be sure that you get registered in here. And then once you're registered, you're going to go click that UEI. That's your UEI. They're going to say hello to whoever you is, and then if you were in the SBR program, then you will have to register everything you have to get access for these different other links. But today's training is on the DSBS, and that's where you go. Then click the DSBS Plus, and that's when you submit that request, and that's how you get your access. Okay, so now tab 1, the orientation tab. Okay, that is. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in because it times out. And that's the reason why I didn't want to log into my DSBS profile yet, because once you log in, it times out. And I wanted to get through the training first. So that way, so let me log in. I believe I'm going to log in. I'm going to let you see what it looks like for the tab orientation and help. But before we do that, because once I log in, it's going to time out. So I'm going to stop now, right quick, take these some more questions, because I know I probably got a lot of questions for that training, and then we'll start back on tab 1 on the second iteration when we come back from our break, because I want to make sure it doesn't time out, because they don't give you long. It times out so quickly. So I'm going to go back to this slide, and then we're going to take back off on here, because I want to make sure I answered all the questions before I move on, and then we can go from there, because I want to make sure y'all have all of the questions before we go to the next section. All right, Yasmin, I'm ready for questions.
Okay, Keisha, thank you. I know that's a lot of information to take in, and you do have a lot of questions. So I'm going to pick a few to go through. And if we don't get to your question today, you can always email Keisha afterwards to get an answer. And obviously, your Apex Accelerator counselor can help as well. Okay, so let's go through that. Somebody's asking about PSC codes. Do I need PSC codes for my DSBS profile?
Well, I didn't see a section in there for the PSC code. So remember, it's the mandatory field. So when you go in here and you click on this, let's just click on this profile. So you want see these are the mandatory fields that they're going to request. So of course, when you register for your SAM, you have to have the NAICS. I've never seen it where it was mandatory for the PSC codes. I think that's optional. And if you go in here, you'll see there's no way for you to put the PSC codes at all. So if you don't have the PSC code, that's fine. But you'll see how if you're a woman-owned certificate, you see it's telling you. If you're ED WASB, they're telling you. If you're a veteran-owned, they're telling everything. And if you're AA, they're putting everything here. The PSC code I've never seen it on here. I've never seen the PSC code. Only thing I've
Okay.
seen is the capability narratives, the special materials, all those different things, but never seen the P. But you have to have the NAICS, because you see right here, this is where the NAICS are going to pull in. This is where it pulls in. So that's why I always like to do, to show you how it goes with this. Okay. I hope that helped. I
Okay.
hope that answered that question.
All right, thank you. Yes. Next question is, what does self-certification mean?
Well, we used to be able to self-certify. So what that was is you just click the box saying I'm a minority, a woman-owned small business, or I'm a minority. But they're changing the rules, and as they change the rules, we have to change with them. Now they require that we be, if you're a woman-owned small business, then you have to be certified. So the self-certification is kind of moving away. You can put that self-certification in there, letting them know that you're a minority-owned small business, and they might even utilize that, because sometimes the contracting officers are looking for a woman-owned minority business. Then if you have it checked, that's a good thing. So definitely utilize it, but that's not the main thing anymore. You have to be certified now. You have to be a woman owned certified, subs owned certified. All these programs have moved to certification.
Okay, thank you. Somebody said I logged into Connect but do not see UEI. This is
Yes,
my
because that means you're not registered. So if
okay.
you do not see your UEI, that means you're not registered. And that means you have to go through and go to this slide, that training that I was telling you about, SBA Connect Registration User Guide. This is the application process. You have to walk through this. That means that means if you got all the way through, you do have it, but you're not connected. So now you have to go to that part where say access. You're requesting access to your UEI. Now, if you don't have a SAM registration, then you're not going to get anything. You see, you have to be registered.
Okay, all right. That's all the questions for now.
Okay, good deal. Okay, so we got 5 minutes before we take our break, but I wanted to give out some information before we take our break. And then so I'm going to give you the agenda. So when we come back, so what to expect when we come back from this, from our break for the 5 minute break, I want to log in. I'm going to log in, and then we're going to walk through each tab one. So that way, if you have questions or answers, so I can show you exactly what it looks like for those, because a lot of you don't have an account or partially feel. I want to be able to go through each tab so you'll know exactly what it entails. So when you do get your access, then you can just go through the training and walk by step, pause it, fix that part, pause it, fix that part, and move on, and keep going on and on and on. So that's why we wanted the training to be a walkthrough, like a counseling session. So that way, because like I said, it's with all the counselors and all the small business trying to get in and the wait time, you can use this time to do your foundational training and getting all this information current and accurate. So when you do have, or say you get stuck on an area, you snip the area you got stuck on, you put the arrow pointing to, you get the instruct, and then you send it to your counselor. Hey, I just got stuck right here. Can you provide me with some help? Or, that way you'll be ready to get in a session and hit the ground running, because I'm telling you, you want to do as much as possible, because you do not want to wait on people, because it's so many small businesses coming, trying to get that same help that you're trying to get. So you want to make it as easy as possible to get that answer and move on to the next side, and then move on and move on. And before you know it, you'll be 100%. And then you'll have an updated profile. Then you PDF it. I believe in PDF and everything. Then you PDF it, print it out. You got your digital copy, and then you have your paper copy. And that's the copy that you're going to call your working copy. That's the copy where you're going to put all your new contracts. That's the copy that you're going to put everything. I got a new contract, so add this to my profile later. I got a new reference, add this to my profile. Got a new certification, add this to my profile. That's with the state. Or I got my PMP, that needs to be added. Whatever that change is, you write it in or put a little piece of note, a sticky note, something to that. So when you go in and do your annual review, you add all that stuff in at that time. Or if you're coming up on this opportunity that you want to pursue and you haven't, you go in there and update that, because they're going to go look at your profile. So I believe you update it as needed when opportunities, that you want to reflect when people go in, the prime, the business contractor, the subcontractor, the prime, whoever pulls that profile, they'll have that information. So that's important that you keep up with that, because I'm telling you, life happens. You are not going to have time to remember what it is that you did on that contract, who that contract was, who was the project manager, who was the COR, the contracting officer representative. You're not going to have time. So if you're documenting it as you go, when it's time, just like you do your performance evaluation, just like you do everything else, you update as you go. So when it's time to turn it in, you already have all the data. You got your data points, you got your contract value, you got what you worked on, what objectives you made. No, I received no cure notices, I received no anything. You know what I'm saying? I just was able to I did 10 deliveries on time for Department of Defense or Department of the MIC installation contract. Because this is when you do all that, because you don't have time. And just so you don't forget, you always do the notes, so that way you never forget. And that's how I keep up with everything. And then, because like I said, you're going to be self-performing on some contracts and doing this thing. So you want to make sure you're getting all this information documented. Okay, and on that note, we are about at the top of the hour, so we can take our 5-minute break and then come back, and then we're going to do our live demo and walk through the training slides.
Okay, thanks everybody. See you back in 5 minutes.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, so let's get started. So the tab 1 orientation, I was able to log in. It came up perfectly. So I'm going to move it over to that screen. Please let me know that you all can see it.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, because you know how to be out here just talking and then you can't see anything that I'm talking about. All right, so we're on tab 1, the orientation and help. So this is when you logged in. You can see welcome to Key to Life Professional Service. That means I've logged in. I had that UEI, I clicked it, and then I'm able to log into my profile. So now when you get into the SBA supplemental pages, go read through everything. And I'm telling you, read through everything. And if you don't want to read it on the computer, then just hit that print screen. Hit print and then print it out so you can see it and put it in your binder. So you know what's in there. You have it all set up, and then you just change it to either PDF or print PDF, or you change it to whatever it needs to be changed to. So that way you're able to have this documentation when you need it later. So when you're going to see, oh, did I do this? Or if you want to read anything, or say you don't want to be on the computer reading everything, this is how you PDF it. You print PDF it, label it, whatever you want to label it, and go from there. Okay, so when I say the SBA supplemental pages, right here is where you see the agency supplemental pages, right? So we already, right now, we're on the orientation and help, right? Then you have the mandatory data. This is what they're going to pull from your SAMs. Okay, this is why I tell you, you got to make sure when you say DSBS participation, you have to say yes. So your selection here will not change the option you have selected in the SAM.gov, but because you had to do that when you were in SAM.gov, it'll tell you that. Do you want to be on your public search? All right. So that's why you know that I said yes, and now I'm showing up. The default has been set to match your selection in SAM.gov. Now, then your NAICS codes. Remember, we talked about those NAICS codes. They pulling in information about those NAICS codes, and that's on the mandatory data. So we talked about the introduction section. That's tab 1, orientation and help. The introductory section, the guidance and instructions. That's all that is, the guidance and instruction. Review this SBA's help information before proceeding. Now we go into the next slide, the mandatory data. These are the fields required by SBA for all small businesses. And ensure the completeness. So you will pull up your SAMS profile, just like I showed you prior. Pull up that SAMS profile and then go through it. PDF it, print it out, make sure everything is current, because I'm telling you, it's going to pull it in and then you're not going to have accurate information. So if you put in there 10 to 15 NAICS codes and you're not actually using those 10 to 15 NAICS codes, I recommend that you don't do that. I recommend you only use the CAICS codes that you are going to be going after, pursuing. So like me, I'm only doing administrative of the 541611. That's my primary NAICS code. But if your primary services is marketing consulting service, then make that the primary. If your primary is the audit consulting or the financial consulting, then you want to make that the primary NAICS code. You understand what I'm saying? So each one of these are the primary NAICS code that I was discussing with you. It's going to pull it over into the system. So that's why it's important that you make sure everything is accurate. Then your keywords, they're telling you for the keywords, in addition to words in the capability narrative of your product and services general page, list keywords describe your service up to 50 characters in each keyword, and then put the comma separated, and up to 525 characters total. You must enter a minimum of 2 keywords/phrases separated by a comma. So whatever it is, so if you're doing management consulting, if you're doing communications, meeting management, meeting facilitation, training support, coaching, whatever it is that you do, acquisition support services, market research, I just put a bunch of them in there for the example so you can have different things, and then you're going to put your keywords in. And nowadays they got the chat GPT for everything, so that way you just put, okay, I'm in financial consulting, all right, what keywords you just copy and paste that keyword summary in there, and let it populate the keywords you should be putting in there. So if you know it's financial industry, or you in a consulting industry, whatever that industry is, ask them what the recommended keywords are. But once, because this is when you're first getting started, because you don't know what you don't know. But now you've bid on some contracts, you've been looking at some RFIs, the request for information, you've been looking at some source of SALT notices, you've been looking at some requests for quotes and requests for proposals, or some invitation for bids. Use the keywords in those opportunities. That's when because now that you just got it set up. Now I'm set up. Now when you print this out, like I told you, you do your print, you do your print, you do your print PDF, you get that, and then you just keep adding those down here, or those keywords down here that you're using or that you're seeing on the sam.gov or any other bid service that you have. And then all you do is, let me make it bigger so you can see. All right. And all you do is just add in that section that information. So that way, like I said, you always have a running total of the keywords you've been seeing in those different solicitations. Or if you want to do a title, say they keep calling events training, or some kind of events, they call it EEO training or something like that. Those keywords that I'm going to search, because they always putting that in the title for these solicitations or these source of SALT notices, then I'm going to use that as a keyword. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I say all that to say is customize this as much as possible of what they're using. And if that's what the government buyer's term or whatever they're using, use those keywords. So if you do SharePoint, I'm putting SharePoint, definitely for SharePoint. If they want digital analytics and different things of that nature with the Power BI, all those different things that you for the capabilities. Now, if you're software, but you'll know what to do for those different ones. Okay, so let me move on, because like I said, we're running out of time and I want to get through all of this. Okay, so that's the section. Then the small business certification. Then you have to, by submitting this form, number one, the firm is a small business under the size standards for the NAICS code. Read this stuff, read it, because you don't want to know what you're agreeing to, and then you sign it. Okay, so we talked about that tab. So now let's go to the next tab, the identification tab. So let's move on to the next one, because I want to make sure I stay on the sketch. So the identification tab. This is a tab also that they're pulling from SAM. Okay, this tab is auto-filled by SAM, and so that way you can see it really clear. I just did a snippet so you can see. And to update the following fields, you have to update your profile in the system for award in SAM. So you see, that's why I wanted to tell you. That's why I have to show you. And you see, it's letting you know, no, for the hub zone. This all has to be populated through the certifications. Now, if it's not correct, they tell you, if incorrect, contact hub zone office. If incorrect, contact your local SBA. I believe that's the business office specialist. I always forget their name, but that's the people for the AA program. uh I can't think of their name right now, it's slipping me. But this is who you contact. You don't contact the Apex Accelerator for that, because we don't have access. We can't help you with that. You will have to talk to your BOS. That's your, I believe it's your business office specialist or something like that, operator or something like that. I can't remember what you call them. But and then you verify your information in here. So that's why I tell you the and then all that information is going to populate in there, because once it gets in here, you see that check mark's going to turn to yes. It's going to turn to yes, and then that's when your case number and all that other information is going to be in there. Okay, your web presence. Now we talked about we keep asking about that capability statement. Your web presence. Make sure you're putting in the link to your website, but then also what they're not doing is they're forgetting to put the capability link in here. So let me show you where the capability link training is for that, because it's not so easy. You have to go in, create the link to the PDF to put in there. And that's why I always put that training. So let me go back to that one. I want to show you in here at the bottom. Remember, at the bottom, it says add a capability link. So you just click on that link that I put in here. Then this one will tell you how to add a capability statement link. You have to, because it's not as easy. It's a lot you have to do. So, and it shows you where it has to go and everything. So, and then I don't have the bandwidth or the training to do that, because you have to go in, change it from a Word document to a PDF. Then from a PDF, either you're going to put it in a Dropbox or Google Drive, grab the link and throw it in here. But if it's certification, then they're already going to put that there for you. So, and that's in the general sections. For those of you who want to know how to do the certification, it's in here. And when you go, so you'll see in my profile, hold on, let me pull my profile back up. Okay. Because we're getting to the next one. We're doing the from Sam. So you'll see I did the identification from Sam, and then from your other web presence. So when you click from other, you see I had to put a link in there. And I just went to my website and put the link. And for I'm not going to go to each and every tab, because that's your personal information. So that's the reason why I can't go through some tabs, because that's where you're going to have your EIN number. You're going to have all your personal information. That's why I just did a screenshot for certain ones, because of the proprietary information. You don't want all your personal information out there on the web. Okay, now the organizational, this is the one, this is where it's coming from Sam, as I showed you in the video, and from that slide. And this is where you update from your firm. This is where you're going to put all your information in. So if you go back to the slide, because I believe I put a screenshot in here. So I showed you how to put that in here, because this helps validate, because they always going to visit your website. Most people always go to your website. So it's important to have that link to your website. And if you don't have that website, then eventually one day you will. Or I guess it could be okay if you wanted to put your I guess LinkedIn profile or something, just to link them to your, I guess. But they want the website right there, because that's what they really wanted, was the website, because they want to validate, have you put the time and effort to really build your website. Okay, so like I was telling you, the owners search and all that data is pulled from SAM and then the SBA, because that's for your certifications. These fields are required by SBA for all small businesses, and includes the business type, the ownership, your certifications from SAM. So just double check to make sure it is accurate. So we're going to spend a little more time on this tab. Okay, so we can go to that tab, and these are the certifications. This is how that tabs looks. This is where you're going to put your name, the principal owners, or if you got partners, they go here. And then their title, they're the CEO, the business owner, whatever. But this is the most important part of here, is when you filling out, after you fill that out, and which order they appear. Then right here, you want to talk about the non-federal government certifications. So those non-federal government certifications, that includes your state certifications, such as state certified, Native American, or industry related competence certifications, such as your Microsoft certified systems engineer, or you're a Cisco certified internet, what's that? Internet work expert. Then some, or if you're a Cold Fusion certified developer, that's where you're going to put all that right here, right here. And then it tells you, you just keep adding them. And then once you run out of space, right? So you didn't enter them all in. I'm a licensed electrician, or I'm a registered nurse, and etc. You probably need to also abbreviate, because it may not fit. So one example, so I gave you an example that they put in there for us. I'm a certified Alaskan Native American, and then put those certifications. I'm a MSCE, the CEIE, then you just abbreviate it, because it's only certain amount of characters you can put in there. um and it'll tell you, because it won't let you put anything else in there. So that's why it's important that you abbreviate it in a way that they can understand. And so like for the state of Maryland, I put certified Maryland MD, and then I put SBR, comma VB, the VSBE. That's for the veteran owned small business. So I can get all of that on one line. Then if I'm a licensed electrician, then I want to put that. If I'm DWEA level 3 certified, then I want to put that. Because you got to put all those certifications on each one. So that's why it's important to abbreviate it, so that way you can have enough room. And then once you've did your fourth one, and you need the fifth one. So what happens is, if you run out those boxes, you still need to enter more. All you do is hit save, and then when you return back to the page, it'll have the boxes, some new boxes, so you can fill in, and you just keep on until you get all of your certifications on. And that's how you'll see, well, why I only got 4 boxes? Well, how you get the rest of them on there is you have to start putting the information in, save, then come back, and then it'll populate 2 extra principal boxes, and then so on and so on and so on. That's how they do for everything. And it'll just keep adding more boxes until you get all your certifications. And the same thing, if you want to delete, the same way, you got to delete it the same way. Okay, now the products and services. So now let's go to the products and services tab. So I snipped it right here for you, so you can have the products and service tab. Now, for the products and service tab, as I keep for the link, remember, you put your capability narrative. So I even put a boilerplate language for the capability narrative. Your company A provides, what is it? List your core services, project management, cybersecurity support, training, and technical assist, whatever it is, put it in that block. And then to target, which target clients, federal agencies, state, local government, nonprofit organizations. And then our solutions are designed to help clients. And then your outcome. What are you trying to do? Compliance, operational efficiency, strategic goals, cost savings, and so forth and so on. It's just enough to get you started. And then the capability link, as I stated earlier, the capability link is it's not intuitive. You have to go. This is the tab where you put it at, on the general tab, right here on the tab 7, product, service, and general. But you have to go to that training that I showed you over here to put that link in there. Okay, it's right here. This is how you put it in there. You have to go over that training, because it's not just, okay, I put it. You have to go build a link to put that in there. You have to go build a PDF link that's going to open up every time for whoever's viewing it. So that could be in a Google Drive, or that could be in a Dropbox, whatever sharing, or maybe you have your capability link on your website. So that's why we always recommend that you build a your capability statement on your website, and then you just add that link there. All it needs to be is a hyperlink. It has to be an hyperlink. If it's not a hyperlink, it's not going to pop, it's not going to work. So when I went in there, when I was building mine. So let's pull up mine because I can show you exactly. Okay, so we can close this because we're finished with that. We're on the general tab right here, the general tab. And so I did mine in Google Drive because I already had a Google Drive, but then I had to put it in a Word document, right? And then I mean, in the Google Drive, then download it as a PDF, upload it back into my Google Drive, and then go get that link from your Google Drive. So when you want to share, so it's like, say we want to share a document with somebody outside our organization, then you have to hit share and then change it from restricted to anyone with this link. And that's why I told you that process can be very difficult with doing that. That's why I had to go watch a YouTube video on how to create a PDF link to put it in this drive. And because because of the time we have for the training and because what is all involved and everyone is using a different platform, or some people using Google Drive, some people using Dropbox. It's you have to go look up the video that is good for you, that will help you put it. And then once you put the link in there, so when you go pull it up, then that link will populate because it does it instantly. It will populate in there, and you will see how to. And then your capability statement is available. So that's why I was saying you have to build it in something that has a hyperlink. And so if you haven't already built that, that's what's going to be hard for you when you do that capability link. So that's why I'm giving you the tips and the tools you need to go do the research to get that link in there. And that's how I put mine in, because I use Google Drive, because you got that shareable when you sharing Google Docs with different ones. And I didn't want to share a Google Doc. I wanted to share a PDF. You don't want them to be able to change or your information or your capability statement to be moving. So that's why you have to download it as a PDF, the one that you edited, and then re-upload it, and then make that shareable link with that PDF, and then change it from restricted to anyone with this link. And that's how I was able to do that on my Google Drive. And then that folder in that Google Drive, because I have Google Workspace, because that's who I use, I made it, put it in a folder, so that way it'll show that people have access to that. So that way you're not exposing all your information or anything else in the folder. Only thing in that folder is the Google document, the word, the PDF that you uploaded in that Google folder. And only reason why it's like I said, it took me a while to get that. So that was the only reason why it took me a good minute to figure that out, because I had to go watch a couple of YouTube videos, because they just didn't make it really easy on how to enter a link for a PDF document. And some people already have it on their websites. So that's and I don't want to take too much more time on that, because I know we still got a little bit more time to go. And I wanted to talk about your special equipment materials. So let me go over that, what the special materials that you need to be entering in here. So the capability narrative, you've seen the capability narrative. I put that right there for you. I gave you a boilerplate language. And then if you look in the notes section, I also give you an example of the language that should be in the special equipment materials section. What you do in that section, it highlights any tools, techniques, technologies or resources your company uses. So for instance, software platforms specifically in the industry, like some people use Deltek, they do Salesforce, QuickBooks, AutoCAD, whatever those software and platforms. So if somebody's going in or looking up and they need somebody who has Salesforce, then they're going to do a keyword search on Salesforce, or that's why it's important. So then what about there's tools that meet that meet, they said, tools that meet federal security or compliance standards, the FedRAMP, the AWS, or GovCon. See, that's what you're going to put in there, because that is where uh they're going to do all those different keyword search. Hold on, and I'm pulling up because I wanted to show you another one. I wanted to give you another example. Okay, the next one is for equipment. Okay, so if you required to deliver, so you have delivery services, right? Then that is field survey drones. So you putting in field survey drones, or I'm doing GSI mapping, at HIPAA compliance systems. That's what that is. So then I got another one for you, because I call myself trying to get you some good examples so you can understand exactly what goes into that section, because I'm trying to look in the note section. The industry specific certification. So like if it's CMC tools, or if you're in the HR, it's like EHR systems for healthcare, or if you got, that's where all that's going to go. Because, and the reason why I feel it matters is because contractor officers and the primes may filter vendors based on specific technologies and tools required for a specific contract. So that's why I said, I put those keywords in, um, for all that information so I can make sure. And then the next thing is this. Okay, so then I want to talk about the visibility. So that's why I said it triggers all that information. And then the last thing before we move away from this slide, I apologize. The construction and bonding. This is where you're going to enter all that information. And remember, I was telling you about those construction, percentage of construction, manufacturing, if it's research and development, because we doing market research, or if they need somebody for market research or anything on the team, then that's what we provide, market research. Then it goes from there. And then the quality assurance standards, they might need them. You just check that box, whichever one you have. If you have the ISO 9000 series, then you check that box. Whatever you have, that's what you check. You check that box. So that's why it matters. Because when people are they're building their teaming database, and they're looking for teaming partners who could provide that service, that's where all that information goes. Okay, so now let me go to the next slide. Okay, so now the products and services. This is optional. That's for the exporters. So I've never did this one. So that's why I said most my small businesses do services. They didn't do that. So if you need more information on that, you will have to do a little bit more research on that one, because mostly this one is focusing on services. And then it's also useful for international contracting and SBA export programs. So that's the difference. All right, so let me go to the next slide, because I want to talk about the reference slide, because we're going to spend a little time here before we get ready to go back. Okay, so the references. So now when you go in your profile for the references, okay, that one is on. When you go to your references, then every reference you put in is just going to keep populating on here. You see what I'm saying? So each one you're going to fill out and put. So like for a new reference, you just keep adding, and then which order it should appear on. And so what I always recommend, because we got to talk about the past performance for the references, you'll see. Okay, so let me go here and go ahead and start pulling up. So this is the reference slide, but I want to talk about each one because I did a slide for each one. Okay, so now the prime conference. So then we got the prime reference, because I really wanted you to understand what I mean when I say your references. So like the financial grant compliance support, I did this one for HHS. All right, this is a prime reference, right? Then you put the contract number in there, the start and the end date, the contract value, and then the contact name available upon request, or the program manager. Okay, and then the contract number, and that normally I put my number in there because I want them reaching out to me. come contact me, and then because I want to know who's asking for my references, what contract is this for, what is the reason for them asking for this information. So I put my contact number on there because I want to know who that is. That's just the way it is, because I'm just not going to give all my information out there. And then because people don't always do use your information for good. So that's why I always make sure that I have that information. So I gave you an example for the prime reference now, but I want to take it a next step for those who don't have prime contract. This is the subcontract. This is the subcontractor reference. Okay. So say you did audit readiness support, and it's for Department of Education. And then you put sub, you letting them know, hey, this is subcontract. And then you can just put whatever contract number they gave you. If they gave you a contract number, that's where you will put it. And then when you started and when you ended, and then the value of that. And then available upon request, you're going to talk to the prime's contract manager or whatever they call their person, small business liaison, subcontractor, whatever they call them, and then that information. But before because the reason why I don't like putting their information here is because they'll contact the prime contractor, prime contract manager before they contact me. So that's why I say, no, contact me first, and then I'll alert the prime contract manager, hey, I got a reference a person, I got this opportunity that I'm pursuing, and they'll be reaching out, because what you don't want to happen is they reach out and then they be like, wait a minute, I don't even know who you're talking about. Or, well, no, or you just want to make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music and there's no misunderstanding, so they know that this is coming. It's like giving them a heads up, if you will. And so this is your subcontract reference. This is how you should be putting it in there, because we want them to know that, yes, I have experience with the Department of Education. However, it wasn't a prime, it was as a subcontractor. Okay, so that is why it's important. And then, just giving them that information, that it makes you looks very valuable, that you have the experience. Now, employee based experience reference, because I have so many clients that say, well, I'm only employee. I just started my business and I don't have an experience. Okay. Well, then use your employee experience, because that way you could be a key personnel on something. Okay. So when I first got started, I didn't have any experience. So I will be subcontract, because I was acquisition. So I'm always using my acquisition support. So I want to do acquisition support. I worked with US Army and I was an employee. That was my past performance, because I was an employee. And then on what contracts I worked on, when I started, ended, and then it's available upon request, and that's through the COR, right? The contracting officer representative, and then the contact details. I put my contact details. I'm keeping my contact details in so I can know, so then I can reach out to the COR, the contracting officer representative, and then let them know, hey, I got this opportunity I'm going out. I want to use this for my key personnel. And key personnel, some contracts ask for 2 key personnel. Some contracts ask for 1. It is determined by the contract. So when you're reading the contract and in the key personnel section, they say it must be. That means your company's information will be in that opportunity. So that's a good thing for you. That means they can't win that opportunity without your business. But I've seen them replace people out of there. That's why you want to make sure you get those teaming agreements, that you are going to be the key personnel on the contract, and then what you're paid. All that stuff needs to be fleshed out if you're only providing key personnel support, because I've done key personnel support, I've done the subcontractor support, and not really the prime, because when you're in the government, you can't, there's called a conflict of interest. So you cannot get in trouble with that. So that's why I always tell my government employees who always call and want to win contracts, and well, you got to choose. You can't, and especially if you're a GS-12 and above. And now, especially in this administration, they've changed a lot of the rules. So you have to go look up the rules for if you're a government employee still trying to go after contracts, because they're looking at that GS. Did you get permission from that agency so you can go after these different opportunities? That's why it's important to have those relationships with your references. And once you have those relationship with those references, then you know how to go about it. So then you put all the information in there. So and then let's talk about that NDA. Okay. That's the example that I did not put in here, but I want to share with you because I meant to put it in here, but I wanted to talk to you because a lot of you are getting started and you have a NDA, the non-disclosure agreement that you signed that you can't. So you need to know what you can discuss and what you cannot discuss. So a non-disclosure agreement is a legal binding document that protects the confidential and proprietary information from being shared without permission. It's common in teaming discussions, proposal development, or when accessing sensitive government or client documents. They have you sign that. And that's for all our people that's new to this. Now, the general things, what you can discuss, the general company capabilities. You still are allowed to market and speak about your business offering as usual, your own past performance, your skills, or certification. That is allowed. Okay. But publicly available information, that is allowed. If the information is already on the public, i.e., the SAM.gov, FPDS, your RFP posted online, it's fair game to discuss. Now, your role in a team. You can generally say you are supporting a team effort. Okay. So when you're doing your past performance write up, it's important that you understand this so that way you don't breach your NDA and then therefore you get in trouble. And that way your uh team and partner understands what you are giving out because you don't want to give anything wrong out. You see what I'm saying? So, and so this is for the like I was saying earlier, this is for the employees because this is for employees, people who are transitioning or have commercial clients. I did not put a tab in here for the commercial clients. I was focusing on the prime, sub, and employee base, and I meant to put a tab in here for commercials. So that's why I'm just going over the commercial just by my what I had took notes on and wrote because I did not put the commercial based experience reference in here, and I apologize. That's why I want to go over it exactly because that's the NDA. And then when you go, I want to just give you like how would you put that? It's confidential, and then for which agency, and then that's how you're doing because it's confidential, and then what is the industry? So this financial services, what services are you providing? It's confidential. For what agency, and then what services are you? So I'm doing auditing services. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It's just because of that slide was left out. I apologize, everyone. I left that slide out because I was going to make a slide for it, but then I had it slipped my mind. So I apologize for that. So I'm just going over you what should be on the slide so you'll have it in the training. Okay. And then a broad scope of work. You can reference industry NAICS codes like financial services, training and development, unless it's restricted in the NDA. So that's why I had a lot to talk about with that NDA because people don't understand that you cannot breach that non-disclosure. So that's why I wanted to really talk about that NDA. And I should have created a slide for that NDA. So moving forward for this training, I definitely will create a slide specifically for the NDA because I've just had to deal with that so many times and I've had to sign non-disclosures and I could only say certain things. They didn't allow for it. So that's why I say read the NDA to see what you are allowed, and then you ask the question to that prime contractor, to that agency, or whoever, what can you discuss? And then the internal business operations, when you're discussing your pricing methods, your hiring practice, how you manage proposals, as long as you're not sharing confidential processes of that company, you sign that NDA. So all this training was just to give you a little bit of nugget on the different tabs of the prime, if you have a prime and you sign an NDA, or a sub NDA, these are the things you have to be aware of. What are you allowed to say when you sign an NDA, and what are you not allowed to say? Now, normally you will not be able to say any proposal content, okay? Because any information you share for the purpose of proposal writing, teaming, or reviewing and solicitation is confidential. So don't share the pricing, staffing plans, technical content. Don't share any of that. So that's why I say when you're filling out this tab, that's why I say confidential. You put all that confidential, contract confidential, because you don't want to get it. Now, you start date, end date, that doesn't matter. You can put that. And then available upon request, because that one you have to get permission in writing because you signed that non-disclosure. So that's why I said we definitely need to make sure you understand when it comes to doing your references, how you put that information in when you sign an NDA. Okay. For company specific strategies, you can't share their business model. You can't share their marketing strategy or plans, or even if they're casually mentioned in a call or email. It doesn't matter. You can't share it. So that's why I said know the do's and don'ts of your NDA. Read it. No, because remember, all this is coming from our past performance. How we fill all our references is from our past performance. You got to know which reference it is. Is it your acquisition support one? Is it your financial services support one? What is it, the one that had the NDA? So I can only talk about my relevant experience. I can't really talk about anything else. You see, that's the difference. And then the proprietary tools or templates. Did they say they had, if you're given access to their internal checklist, their past performance, proposal templates, financial models, all that is protected by the NDA. So that's why it's important when you do the commercial or working for a business that you've worked for another small business, or as a consultant or anything, you just say what you did and that's it. So that's why I just definitely want to make sure you understand that. And then identities of the clients, the identities of client contacts, and any details labeled, so you got to make sure you do that. And then how to safely. So that's why I say you got to safely be able to know. That's why I always just contact my person, my prime, or if I'm working for another business, can I do this? Because I wanted them to give it to me in writing that they gave me permission to do this. Okay. And then we are part of, so that's why. So when in doubt, like I say, we are part of a confidential teaming discussion with a federal contractor. You just use all those different languages so you don't get in no trouble. Then we are supporting a proposal response under the NDA and cannot share any further details. So that's when you're going to put that on your past performance. This project is protected by NDA, but our role included business development and then a subcontractor, or I did acquisition support. So that's the only thing I want to, I apologize for that. That's the phone going. Hold, please.
While we're waiting for Akeisha to come back, I've just posted some links in the chat box. Akeisha's next class is in May, and it's called How to Win Contracts When You Lack Past Performance, which is probably our most common question that we get here at the Accelerator. So that will be a very useful one to attend. And also there's links there to watch our previous recordings. We have a government contracting roadmap that takes you from A to Z, really targeted towards beginners who don't know where to start. And if you have any suggestions for classes you would like us to teach that you don't see us teaching, please either post them in the chat or email me. Always looking for ideas. Thanks. You back, Akeisha?
Okay. Yes, I had to get, because it was going to keep ringing if I ain't hit it. Okay, everyone. Okay, I apologize for that. Okay, so now for the last talking point for these references, because then because that's about it. We're going to open up for questions again, and then that's it. But Even if it's a federal contract, your commercial, nonprofit, subcontract, employee experience, it still matters. So make sure you document it. And if you're in doubt of how to put it in your references, just write it down and then send it to your counselor. And they will tell you, oh, no, if I would recommend that you change this, change that, do this, do that. And then that way you at least get started. Just put all of the past performance, put all your employee bases, all of that experience on there. And then that way you at least have a start. And then once you've got it, then you can just keep tweaking it and customizing and editing all those different informations. So like I said, we were talking about that professional service like a coaching firm, because I wanted to make sure we understood. So ABC Women's Leadership Group. So, that was the client name. I did work for ABC Women's Leadership Group. That's a business, and I wanted, but there was really no contract. This was a NDA. So then, that's when I told you, was giving you those informations, what you should say. Okay, this project was protected by a NDA. So then that's all you put, protected by the NDA, because we don't want to mess up our relationship with those small businesses. All right. And then financial consulting firm. So we did financial, but you signed that NDA. But what you did do is grant compliance and monitoring and audit readiness. And then what you can share, that's what you share. But when you and then like I said, put that label under NDA. Always put that under NDA when you can't reveal any of the information. So if you're a construction, same thing, XYZ Builders, what agency it was for. And then I did because you know what the role is. So say you was only a electrician and you were a subcontractor. Remember, just put electrician subcontractor for the VA, and then put that under NDA, because the thing is, you want to get that experience. And then, like I said, reach out to your program, your prime contractor program manager, and ask them for a reference. Hey, can I put you down for this reference? Because I'm going after this other opportunity. So that's the difference between documenting that experience, or just like I said, or if you wanted to put, I was at Cloud Secure Technology, and then you put comma, former employer, or this is my employee past performance, so you can make it clear. So when you get on you don't have to play those games. You'd be like, look, I told you from the beginning, this is what I have, this is experience I have, and you're not wasting that prime contractor's time or yours, because everybody's time is valuable, and you're wearing multiple hats, and you can't keep going back, because when you're an employee-based experience, I always recommend you start off as key personnel. Start getting on those contracts. Get on the contracts. Get that past performance, so that way you can say, "Hey, I worked at the MIC. I'm working at the Mission Installation Contractor, or I worked at DISA, but I worked in the contracting support section, and I did this, and I worked with software. I worked at this. I worked at that." And that way you're qualified for that key personnel role. And then you got that, for a year, if they do a base and do option years, and you're gaining that experience. You're gaining that. And then when you've been in business, for 5 years now, because you've been on a contract for 5 years, that's 5 years experience doing that role, getting paid as your business. So that's the key to transitioning. That's why I always tell people, crawl before you can walk or run. Do it baby steps, and that way you're gaining experience. You done built this relationship with this prime contractor, and then they can add you on another, and then they can start saying, hey, you can bring on another team person and we'll pay for you. That way these are your employees, because they see that you worked well, so now they know that you can do this, and then they'll take your employees on. So these are some of the things you got to think about when you are thinking about these references, when you're thinking about projects. And because it's time to close, but I wanted to get those little nuggets in there. Let me go to the next slide, because that was it, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the additional resources. Visit your Apex Accelerate sign up. If you're not in the state of Maryland, go find your state, and then just get registered. And then always check at sba.gov to get all your free resources. And I always recommend Neil McDonald, because he does training every on LinkedIn. his LinkedIn training. He has a lot of good LinkedIn lives. He does a lot of networking events for small business. He's really trying to uplift the small business, because as a small business, you're already strapped for cash. You're already trying to get your past performance. You're already trying to market your business. And that is a great way to market your business. And then at the last, and that's it. Okay, that's it. Yep, because we have a few more minutes and I want to give that time for questions.
Thank you, Akeisha. Excellent presentation as always. I know this is very detailed, so you're probably going to have to watch it back again with your team and go through the slides. Akeisha is very, very detailed, which is why we love having her teach our classes. So yeah, don't worry if you feel that you have missed anything. We're always here to help you, okay? So any questions that you have, now's your time to post them. We've got 10 minutes left. Well, sorry, 5 minutes left. Or if there's anything you would like Akeisha to explain again. Okay, so we have a question that says, my past performance is personal work I did last year. Is it safe to include dates and contract details in the past performance, even though I was not subbing under my business?
That's a really hard one, because um the nuances is, okay, what is it, who can prove, I mean, who can verify, because everything is about validation. Who's going to validate that you did the work, um and how it turned out, and how many people it supported, and how many people it helped, and then what particularly did the past performance say it had to be. So remember, everything we do is according to that past performance, what they're asking for. If they say I want 3 years of past performance at verifiable, it's whatever that past performance, because then you'll know I can't use that for an agency, but I can use it for a prime. Well, because primes will let you, not, it's not as strict as it is for when you are going after the agency, like as the prime. But if you're a sub, then you can use different past performances, because they normally give us tests. They normally want to see what you've done. I mean, they just go through a lot of vetting process to see if they want to put you on the team. So it depends on the opportunity, will determine, because you gain so much experience from that personal project. Can you speak it? Do you have a methodology when you're explaining it to the prime contractor? And will that make you valuable to be put on the team? That's going to determine it, because you can use any and everything. Because I know I used my training, my classes, I used everything, because I had a certification. If I had certifications, I proved it with my certifications. And that's how I became a sub consultant for one. I wasn't the consultant, but I was a sub consultant, one of the sub consultants, because of my certifications and my training. And when they ask you in the interview questions and all that, I was able to answer everything, plus show all the products and stuff I built. That's what made me valuable. So that's what's going to determine if you can show the results, the outcome, and who you supported in that personal past performance, because you can use any and everything to, because that's what we do now. We do on the job training. We use everything and anything to make us better, so we can go after opportunities, because you don't just start off with past performance. You have to build it and grow it. Okay. Any more questions?
Great, thank you. Okay, let's see, any more questions? Mary, I will reply privately to you to see how we can get your counselor to assist you. Thank you for that question. I think you've pretty much addressed everything. And like I said, everything will be in the slides and the recording and all the links. And you can always forward your emails to us if you think of a question later in the day or later on anyway. Let's see. How do I submit my registration on SAM after completing my SBA profile on DSBS?
Mm, you said, how can they submit it?
I guess just completing your SAM registration profile I think that's
Because
what
once
they're
they
asking.
complete it, remember, they have to wait, because they got to get that. Once you complete it, you still got to go through that process. And then once it's completed, then it will allow you, then it's going to create the SAM DSBS. And that's when you have to go back to that registration link that I showed you and go through that process to connect it. So you definitely have to do that.
Okay, great. Well, it looks
Mhm.
like that's all the questions we have time for today. So I'd like to thank Akeisha for an excellent presentation and all of you for participating today, asking great questions. Get in touch with your counselor if you need assistance. Yes, I know there's a wait time. We constantly apologize for it, but we are a very small team serving the entire state of Maryland. So please be patient with us. We will get to you soon as we can. So take care, everybody. Hope to see you again at a future webinar. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks, Akeisha. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.